There is more, I fear. Kildrummie has also been captured. Looking to where Bruce's brother Edward sat, she swallowed hard and said, Your brother Nigel died on England's gallows. Dear God, no! Edward cried out. He jumped up and paced before them. No! Bruce put his other hand to his head, pushing back his stiff, brown hair, his face ashen. Pain radiated from him, a physical, living thing that stole the breath from Brian's own lungs. Although their blood ties were never mentioned, the Bruce family was his own. Nigel, the king's youngest brother, had been everyone's favourite. He had always treated Brian with warmth. Many of the men hastily crossed themselves, but Brian did not join them. How could they continue to believe in a God that would allow such a good man to die such a terrible death? And where had he been when Bruce's loved ones called out to him for safekeeping? James Douglas, the youngest of Bruce's knighted men, asked, What of the women, my lady? Surely the butcher Edward spared them? Lady Christian again searched Bruce's face as if to find the least painful way to deliver her words. The king's sisters are displayed in wooden cages, high on the battlements of Berwick and Roxburgh castles. They are to hang there indefinitely, exposed to the elements and the gazes of passers-by. Bruce roared in impotent fury, striking the air with his fists. A tremor coursed through Brian at Edward of England's mindless cruelty and the hatred that fueled it. Known as the Hammer of the Scots, Edward I had wrestled the throne of Scotland away from its rightful owner some 12 years ago. Rebellion had ensued, and Edward used an increasingly heavy hand in his attempts to subdue his northern neighbours. Brian cleared his throat, fearful that in his anguish his adolescent voice would betray him. And what? What of the king's daughter? Young Princess Marjorie. Brian immediately glanced at Bruce, who dared to meet Lady Christian's eyes once more, dread in his own. Tears dripped down the lady's face as she said, The young princess lives in a similar cage, suspended from the walls of the Tower of London. Someone gasped, What sort of monster would treat a child so? Bruce sank to his knees, and Brian dropped down beside him, head in his hands, his despair and anger at God deepening. Even young Marjorie had not been spared, his half-sister. All but 12 years of age. Brian had seen comrades in arms fall on the battlefield, known fine men who were hanged for their loyalties to the Bruce, but this, innocents all, treated like savage animals. You have not told me of my wife, Bruce stated, his voice strained, eyes still on the ground. An expectant silence fell, because they all knew of Bruce's fierce devotion to Elizabeth de Burgh. Lady Christian shook her head. She is being held in solitary confinement somewhere in England. That is all that is known. Beaten at last, Bruce's shoulders shook with sobs. Lady Christian knelt and hugged Bruce fiercely. I'm so sorry, Robert, she murmured. I thought it best you heard this from a friend. She looked over at Brian, imploring him with her eyes. Feeling queasy himself at the news, Brian rose and helped the king to his feet. A knot formed in Brian's throat, choking him as he felt a portion of Robert's pain. The women were undoubtedly in danger, suffering. Everything in him told him to go, fight for their freedom. What madness was it that kept armed men from defending their women? It was impossible. Robert de Bruce drew away from them by a few paces, pinched the bridge of his nose and took a deep breath, struggling for control. Is there any other news? Bruce asked. Nay, Robert, the lady said quietly. Bruce turned and to a man, Brian's companion strode forward to stand at the ready for him. I thank you, Lady Christian, for risking your own safety to bring me word of my family. The king stopped, still clearly struggling with his emotions. God bless you for your bravery, and speed you safely home.